Good evening, everyone. I want to call your attention now, and we'll start the regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority. It is March 4th, 2019. Roll call, Dixie.
Colern.
Here.
Gilbert. Here. Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabold. Morrell.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Reverend Ahern, would you give us a blessing this evening?
Absolutely. If you guys will pray with me. Father, we come to you tonight with great gratitude for the community that we live in. I would ask your blessing and presence tonight as we conduct some of the work of this community. Help us to be positive, diligent, respectful, and forward-thinking, and in all ways give honor and glory to you. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Consent agenda is item 1. It's just to receive and approve the minutes of the regular PMA meeting of February 1st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 4, comments from those assembled. Anyone have comments concerning the PMA this evening? Any comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Staff, council, anyone have anything to present? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6. Do we have any new business to be brought before PMA? I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks. Ahern. Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. I call to order the regular meeting of the Perry, City of Perry Council. Darn, I got all that wrong. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry. It is March 4th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Here.
Gilbert. Here. Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabold. Here. Morrell.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. Sometimes my eyes move faster than my lips do. I do declare a quorum, and consent agenda's first item. There's 3 items on the consent agenda, items A, B, and C. Do we need to discuss any of those? I need a motion to accept as presented.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Comments from those assembled? Anyone wish to make comments before the council meeting this evening? Comments? Seeing none. Item 5, proclamation, commendations, reports, and inquiries. Any reports? Don't make any comments about me. Thank you. City manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to introduce, Jerry, would you come up to the podium, please?
Yes, sir.
This is our new code enforcement officer, Jerry Allen. And Jerry's going to tell you a little bit about what he does, where his background, what brought him here. And Jerry's starting your 3rd month.
Yes, been here
Congratulations.
60 days about. So, thank you for letting me come before you this evening. My name is Jerry Allen. I'm from Enid, and I do contract code enforcement for little towns. I am certified code enforcement officer. A couple of friends of mine, attorneys in Enid that represent little towns like Bryce does, asked me if I would consider doing code enforcement. I was somewhat retired, and so I thought, well, that sounds kind of fun. And it's fun because I don't live in those towns. I can come over here and nobody knows who I am, and I come during the daytime and I leave before dark, and I make my appointed rounds. The way I work is previously, and I slipped these to you. There were, Sharon, the previous code enforcement officer, did a great job for your community, and she helped me kind of get acclimated here. And she would post these and I think have conversations with people. I move a little bit quicker. I take care of Perry, Hennessy, Garber, and Dover. and that's the only 4 towns that I'm gonna take care of this year. And she would sometimes place these on houses, and after I did this a little bit, I didn't feel like it did everything that I wanted it to. So I brought a generic one that I use in the little towns, and the main thing about this card is at the bottom it says other. And in the comments, I can write in there what specifically needs to be done, and I am specific, and I start with my favorite word, please. Please mow your yard, please, just try to be a little bit nicer about it. And so since I've been in this town for 60-some days, I've identified 188 locations. I've put out, of those 188 locations, 37 of them are houses that do not have electricity for the last 2 years. And I am in the process tomorrow letters to the residents that have the owners of the homes, not necessarily residents because they don't all live here, and ask them what their intent for that structure is. And not a big deal, we just kind of want to know what's going on. And typically, a structure that doesn't have electricity, a home, is going to be something that's a problem down the line. So that leaves 151 locations that I've gone out and said, you've got some clutter or open storage or this or that. And it's remarkable the participation, the people taking care of the problems. So you got a great community. They're willing to, looks like they're willing to take care of things. We'll know a little bit more when we get some tall weeds and grass. That's still a little bit away, but it's around the corner. And so that's really when I'm super busy, but I'm here to serve you all. If you have specific areas of interest, not areas of the town, because if you ask me to do something, then I do it. I ask that you let me do it all across the community. And so that's something that the city manager and I have discussed, is issues like that. So in the future, if there's something that you need from me, please let me know. I'm very pleased to be here. Is there any questions?
I'm glad to have you.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. I'm out of here.
I also want to take some time to yield to Chief Thomas. You got some comment here and there?
Well, Larry does the city messenger, the city manager's messenger, and I sent my deal in last week to have him put something in there, and he said, that'd be something to tell the council, which I'm very proud of. First of all, I've got a great department. Right now, we got 11 guys. We got 2 going to start shortly. But for 11 guys to do everything we do that's pretty good for a size of 5,500 people. But one thing I wanted to talk about was some of the officers. This was a joint effort. Some officers start hearing. If you didn't hear, our vape shop got hit here 2 weeks ago. Stole thousands of dollars worth of vape stuff out of there. It's amazing how officers have, I'm going to kind of brag on Lieutenant Odell at the school. They go to him about everything. Man, I heard so-and-so did this and I heard this, so we listen to everything. But with information from other officers, I gave it to the detective, which is Dudry. And Dudry, along with the task force, just started going to people's houses and knocking on doors trying to get answers. And I just wanted to commend Lieutenant Dudry. He went to some houses, and when the day was over with, and if y'all didn't hear, Councilman Franklin's new building on the square got broke into and stole very valuable items that he's collected for many years. And I felt bad for Jim, and he was like, we took footprint samples, we did everything we could, we found out how they got in, and I think Councilman Franklin just said, I know they're gone, I'll never see them again. But I just wanted to commend Dudry with his effort of going out and trying to solve the vape shop. We ended up getting 2 arrested on that, plus all this box right here is Jim Franklin's stuff that was stolen that night. So we solved actually 3 cases in one. We got the vape shop, we got Jim's burglary, and the night before we had a gun in town, and these individuals were caught with the stolen gun as well. So, I'm just proud of the guys, and Jim, there's your stuff, you can take it home with you this evening, so.
Thank you very much.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Perry Police Department, the guys are doing great, so. Thanks.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. And while we're giving out thanks, I want to say thanks to Sam Harmon and all the street crew. 2 events we've had recently, and they've done an excellent job of keeping us so that we can, the streets passable and ice situations kind of taken care of. So I do appreciate that. Any questions? Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Item 7 is a public discussion of the medical health 1% sales tax election scheduled for April 2nd, 2019. I think we have an opportunity here. Our CEO of the Stillwater Medical Center, Perry, is here. I want him to stand up and give you a little bit of talk. Stephen? He can give you a quick summary of what we've been discussing at the hospital and other places.
You should have taped your Rotary Club presentation today, and we could have just played it right here.
Well, I was pretty much all talked out, and no one's gonna need to say anything. But, you know, as I said at the Rotary today, we've been taking steps to get the facility rebranded. We're not there yet. Things don't move as fast as what you might think they should whenever you're trying to get sign made, but we've started that process, and if you've driven by the sign that's on the street where the marquee is, it does have the new Stillwater Medical Perry brand and logo on that sign. And we have a banner that's sitting on the ground in one of the islands in front of the hospital, and then we have a banner that will go right over the front there as you come in the main entrance that will cover up Perry Memorial Hospital there, and then we'll take lettering down that's on some other portions of the facility. And so we'll get that done. We're getting new badges. Employees are already embracing it, and whenever they answer the phone, they're saying Stillwater Medical Perry, and so I think we're definitely transitioning to where we want to be. Also mentioned to the group today, you know, our ER physicians. I'm happy to say that we got Dr. Connect, who is here for about 10 to 14 days out of the month, and so he's one of our standard physicians that's coming in now, and staff's really glad to see him back and embracing him, and actually, you know, the employees told me this, but this town loves him, and our ER visits have actually gone up a little bit from what they had been previously. I don't know if it's the reason or not, but it could be the flu season as well. And so, you know, we're happy to be there and want to do everything we can. You know, there's still some things operationally that we're going to do to continue to decrease our cost, and we have contracts that are coming due. We do have the new 64-slice CT scanner in place. The staff's going to get trained on that next week, and so we'll be able to remove the one that we're paying a lease payment on and not have to have that on an annual basis, which will save us about $117,000 a year. And being a 64-slice versus a 16-slice, we'll be able to do additional procedures that we previously have not been able to do. We're also getting ready to replace the phone system. Phone system out there has been a sore spot for a while, ever since we got there. And there's been times when people have not been able to call in, and we've actually had to call the PD and tell them if anybody calls, the hospital is open, but they just couldn't get in. So we're getting a new phone system put in. We got a new treadmill for a cardiac rehab program, and so, you know, for services that we think are a good service line, then we're reinvesting in those. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We mentioned this morning about the lab recertification.
Yes, it got recertified in November. We do not have our blood bank open yet. We don't utilize the blood bank services a lot. Whenever we need blood, we call OBI, and then they get it to us. It takes them a little while, but there's the equipment we have in place, and the staff training is very extensive and specific, and we didn't feel comfortable reopening the blood bank at this point in time, but it's our goal before the end of the year to have the lab, blood bank recertified. But the rest of the lab is open, and I'm happy to say we're fully staffed with no staff, and so that'll save us additional dollars too, and so we're headed in the right direction.
Have you thought about doing, we've talked about this several times, some kind of outreach into the community? Do like a free screening or something to get people to the hospital to know what's going on?
Yes, we actually, I think, gonna plan one for April. I think they usually have some type of health fair in April, and so, yes, we're planning on doing something like that.
Megan, you put on that marquee out there when Jim connects in the
Yeah.
hospital, and people drive by, they know they're there.
We're happy to have him there.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else have any comments, questions? Thank you for coming out. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Appreciate you
Steve.
being there. To add some commentary to what he just said, the sales tax will be up for April 2nd. This is just a vital need of this community to support this hospital. This is a tax that has a sunset of 5 years, and will either be by vote of the people extended or it'll die. So the reason we're doing this for 5 years is that we need help in the next 5 years remodeling the hospital, not remodeling it physically, but remodeling the minds and the programs, and finding what works in a rural hospital and what doesn't. And they've got some ideas from the management involvement they've had in other rural hospitals and at Stillwater. And so there's some programs we need to get started on. And you don't start a program from scratch. It takes money. And to get certified in some areas to use rooms for something other than what we're using rooms for, those have to go through the state health department. They have to go through CMS to make sure of what you're doing is safe for those who will be staying in it. So it's not an easy process, and it takes time and money. And this sales tax will help us in that regard. It'll help us in our emergency staffing for higher qualifications in our emergency staffing and ambulance care. And I wish I knew more about that. I just know that we have some needs, and this will help us meet those needs. And we're going to get more information where we're all saying the same thing here pretty quick. Larry's going to go over it with you. But to everybody out there that's listening, thanks, Dr. Connect, for coming back and helping the hospital. And I want to thank those who have already decided they will support this tax, because we're a community that has to have a hospital. We can't get by just being an emergency room. We've got to have a hospital to support the community and the people that live here. And if we don't have one, then it's a 20-minute ride to the nearest place to get your heart monitored if you're having a symptom. And Jim and I both know how that works. Dr. Connect saved my bacon at this hospital out here in 2008, and Jim went in before I did. So I was near a stroke, and they pulled me out of it. So great. It was 5 minutes away. So I just got to say that, and it's true. He and I both depend on this hospital. And if I had this same disease 10 years ago, I would have died. So Dr. Connect and this hospital is what's kept me going for the last 10 to 15 years, really. Thanks. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry to take your time.
No problem. Council, you have a memo in front of you that passed out right before the council meeting began. Just wanted to let you know, you can read it a little bit later, but telling our story is very important to the successful result of this campaign. So we have been meeting. I have put together a committee of 9 individuals. Stephen Taylor, the CEO, is on one. Dr. Cecil is also on this committee. And we've met today at noon for the second time. We're putting together a promotional campaign that will be a positive campaign. And in the last question there, what promotional activities are involved in this campaign. You'll see some of these coming out towards the end of this week, and also putting them together as we move forward on this thing. So, we have some really good folks working on this, and I'm pleased to be able to facilitate this meeting. Any questions or anything? Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Any other discussion? Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, move on to item 8. Consider approval of payments of invoices in the amount of $5,560.83 and the amount of $2,813.50 and $4,786 to MKEC Engineering for engineering, surveying, and other services associated with the 2018-2019 street improvement project, construction support services, and the lodge sidewalk respectively. Any questions about this? Larry and I gave him a pretty hard time on that sidewalk business. It was, it's fine.
They still build this for us.
That's right, they still build it.
Motion to approve the invoices.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Colbert.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 9, consider approval of an amendment to section 3B5 of the Chapter 4 of the Perry Personnel Manual, increasing the sick leave reimbursement from $2 to $10. Do y'all know what this really means? It means that what they accrue over a certain minimum, which is $720, that we buy back that if they wish us to. For over 7 hours, I'm sorry. What did I say? Dollars. Hours. Counts for dollars, but it's hours.
Dixie, you have anything to add to this?
Oh, I can add. Because I'm kind of the one that, I actually have been pushing this for 10 years. Ever since I started doing the payroll, I just, from my experience, all the years I did payroll, you start learning how people are using their sick time, and you figure it out really quickly. And you have a few dedicated employees that always show up. And to accrue that kind of hours, you have to be long-term. You have to have been here several years, and you have to have not abused your sick leave. And those few people, you're rewarding them with $2 an hour. It's a crying shame whenever you've got these people that are using all the sick leave they can accumulate and getting, whatever they're making per hour, which is at least 10, oftentimes more. And they're getting that pay when they are, and I don't know, there's nothing wrong with using it when you're sick. You should use it when you're sick. But when you start looking at all those timesheets, and then you see the few people that have that kind of accumulation, when you know there's a lot of people that have a lot of years in, it starts hitting home, and you just start seeing that, why aren't we rewarding the people that are doing right by the city and are really, and I'm not saying that everybody that's on that, not on that list is not doing right, a lot of them are, but they've had illnesses or other situations that couldn't help. But I do believe that you should reward the people that are trying to do their best by the city. And so that's been my suggestion for years. And a month ago, I caught Russ one day when he was here, and I had it calculated because we had just paid it out in January. And I just said, Russ, can you find me some money? And I sat down and explained it to him, and he agreed. He agreed with me, and so we talked to Bryce, and Bryce wrote it up. And it's just my idea, my suggestion. I think it would be the right thing to do for the people that do right by the city.
Helps morale.
Do
It helps morale.
Yes. Because it's kind of a joke, $2 an hour, and I can take the time off and get full pay.
It would only apply to those hours which accrue over 720.
Right.
And you lose those.
Yes.
I mean,
you get the $2.
You get $2, but I mean, you go right back to
Right.
you go right back
now.
to 720.
And you have to be here several years before you even get to that point, so.
The question I hear is, I work in a lot of areas and never knew a city that reimbursed for sick leave. they reimburse for it annually, but not on sick leave. And, so I'm gonna play the bad guy here and ask a direct question. Does this encourage someone to come to work sick?
No.
Okay, same answer?
I would agree, no, because honestly, because Brian and I were talking about it today, we've both come to work sick plenty of times already. I mean, because that's what we do. We feel like we got a job to do and we do it. So I don't think it's gonna make any difference.
Okay. Have you anyone found a history that this would encourage that in any way?
No,
She's our personnel person.
no, it's a pretty common practice.
Okay.
My company, I have to sell back my sick leave at the end of the year. I can't bank any of it,
Really?
which is, I can't understand it. I get 48 hours of sick leave a year, and I have to sell it back at the end of the year. But I get full wages for it. Whatever my wages is, that's what I get per hour at the end of the year. And I feel like I've been on the council for 10 years, and I feel like I owe the employees an apology, because I didn't know this was happening. This is embarrassing.
Well, it's up to us to straighten it out and make the difference, so.
I think I was here when the $2 started.
Earl. Mr. Penny Pincher over there.
Were you wearing a pilgrim's hat?
And quite frankly, when I first read the $10, I thought that was a little generous. But thanks to your comment a minute ago, it straightened my mind out, and I'm willing to do it.
Need a
So
motion?
I would move the motion, or I would make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Meredith, you're smiling.
She's an accountant. Roll call, please.
Kolar.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Were the numbers clicking?
Russ said okay.
Stay out of it.
I just wonder if Russ told her.
Actually, Russ emailed and said, didn't matter. That's done.
Item 10.
Item 10, there we go. Item 10, we wish to table and reconsider at a later date. Have y'all read it and understand it? We're having some complications with the low bidder. They want to make sure that this company can fulfill. We don't want to get in one of those situations where we get a company that can't. And we haven't got all the references and referrals back. So the guys want to research them a little more thoroughly. That's okay at the council, we'll table this item.
Motion to table until we get further information.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Kolar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Item 11. Review the canvas of bids for Perry wastewater treatment plant lift station renovation project. Award the bid to the lowest responsible bidder, subject to receipt of all required forms, bonds, insurance, power of attorney, and review and approval of the same by the city attorney. Authorize the mayor to execute a public construction contract with the lowest responsible bidder. Appropriate $600,000 from the $1,055,000 of the Perry MA Utility System Revenue Note, Series 2018. You reviewed the bids, you saw we had 6 bids on this project, and we do want to award it.
And then this is an outstanding company.
Yes, it is.
So we're very happy with this company, and this is the work that really does need to get done.
This is our priority.
Yeah, this is one.
It's our priority, so we are making a recommendation that you select Walters Morgan as the lowest responsible bidder and authorize the mayor to enter into the public construction contract and appropriate that money for this purpose.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve exactly what Bryce said.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll take roll call.
Kolar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Yes.
Ahern. Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 12, consider approval of the construction of 4 individual sleeping rooms at the fire department. We did approve all of those except for the carpet. We have carpet samples,
Yes.
We have flooring samples.
flooring samples,
samples.
flooring.
Yeah.
We don't want no
Chief
damn
Thomas is
carpet.
gonna help if
Playing
it's
Vanna
okay.
White tonight.
Don't
We
get
just
no
need one,
stinking
we just need
carpet.
one. Yeah, they're all the same.
Which one?
Oh, they're all-
Those, just the colors are different.
Well, I'm gonna pick
If
the
we could
color
just
stops.
let folks look at these, okay?
Just stand there and pose.
Sure.
Stand.
You're supposed to feel thickness.
There's actually 3, we'll just go around the table.
That's
If you
quite
wanna
all right.
feel each- The one that Brian has is from Brewer Carpet in Stillwater. This one is from Simply Home here in Perry, and this is from Lowe's. So,
He
if
can't
you'd
afford
like to
this
feel-
one there.
one of the major differences between this one and that piece there is this requires another layer to go on the floor underneath that.
And then a blue pad looking thing?
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah,
that one's from who?
that's
Brewer?
from Brewer in Stillwater. This is from Simply Home here in Perry, and this is from Lowe's.
What requires the underlayment, the Lowe's piece?
No, Brewer.
The Brewer, the one that
Just trying to get it straight here.
Brian has, yeah, if you wanna feel, just raise your hand. I'll get it close enough.
Hey, what are these samples in your other hand? Those low samples?
Okay, this is a low sample, yes, sir. Yeah.
They all go together basically the same way.
They do, yes, sir. And the way they'll lay that down is these just clip together like that.
Hey.
Isn't that something?
That's all right. I felt it before.
It's real.
I put this down in one of my bathrooms in my apartment, and, now Gwen wants it all through her house. If we build a new house, she wants that same thing through the whole house.
We did it at ours, so.
Yeah. And, but this time I'll get somebody else to do it besides me. So, what do you recommend? You and the guys, you've looked it over.
After feeling what we had picked up from the place in Stillwater and feeling this and knowing that was gonna be just some additional pieces we had to purchase, I think at the end of the day, the price difference was about $70 between Simply Home here. It was $70 more at Simply Home than it was at Brewer. Lowe's was about $1,000 or $1,200 more than either one of those two. It came in a little over $3,000. We just got it today to be able to get that bid, so I apologize for the delay in getting those back, but.
So, I'm sorry. So with this one, without having the extra pieces and stuff, labor for us to install, it's gonna be a little less too, right? Possibly? I mean, I know that's, we're
Well,
doing
yeah,
it
just
in-house.
less time
but-
consuming, I guess.
But in that case, I think that would make could make that one overall.
Does it have kind of a backing on the back that's spongy?
It does.
So-
It's, where that doesn't have, my understanding is it's not necessarily a vapor or moisture barrier, it's more of just an acoustical
It's acoustic,
thing, so you
yeah.
don't hear the echo when you walk, so that was.
I saw that product put in a home here a few years ago, and then I put this one in myself in my bathroom. It didn't take very long.
Seems like the quality of this flooring's a little better.
I think
plus
it
the-
is. So what, you recommend this product
I
from
do.
Simply Homes?
Yes, sir.
It's also local.
Yes.
Sure like that.
Are we voting to select this? Yes. Do you have questions or a motion you want to make? Anyone?
I'm assuming, Chief Brand,
Yes.
is this option 3?
Yes, that is the one that has the stuff from Touch of Home that already has the.
Yeah. I make the motion, we, approve option number 3.
We have a motion and a second. Questions? Roll call, Dixie.
Kohler,
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Iker.
Yes.
Seville.
Yes.
Oral.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, I thought he was coming up here and gonna ask for cards. Any new business? Need to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All right. Roll call Dixon.
Goldar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Iker.
Yes.
Sebel.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you.